Suburban Nights had been completed. The fan reactions had been positive beyond expectations. The struggles of the production had more than paid off. But then, someone asked that question that can instill so much dread in a filmmaker. What's next? So join us as we explore the evolution of To Boldly Flee, and find out how an almost throwaway reference to Star Trek II became the anthem of a production.
We're not gonna make it.
We're not gonna make it.
No.
We're not gonna make it. Are we? We're not gonna make it. Are we? We're not gonna make it. Are we?
Every story needs a beginning. Luckily, To Boldly Flee, and by extension this documentary, picks up right where Suburban Nights left off.
It was always intended to be a direct sequel. What we ultimately came up with was where it was going to go. It was the search for Mati.
It would be revolving around getting Mati back, and I thought about this actually well ahead of time, because when we shot Suburban Nights, I actually dragged Spoonie and Bargo out to the field and said, we're going to shoot this scene, and he does the whole Spock bit where he says, remember, and they were kind of like, why are we doing this? And I'm just like, trust me, it'll come in later, it'll come in handy. I read that they did this in Star Trek II, and it worked.
So how were you guys planning to bring Mati back?
Before he even started, he just came to me, because we had some idea. We knew we had to do something for Mati. We knew it had to be sci-fi based, and we knew sort of the main satire was going to lean towards Star Trek III. We were even thinking about calling it The Search for Mati. And at one point, but I didn't have anything else outside of that, and Rob came up to me and said, what do you think about this? There's this anomaly in space. It's messing everything up. Everybody's going crazy over it. And it's causing insanity everywhere. Just the strangest things are happening. And the crew has to go and find out what it is. That's good. Well, what is it?
A plot hole. Which I kind of liked because it explains every inconsistency that we've ever had in any of the movies. And I said, well, we can have this plot hole, and it's spewing out things, and you have to somehow plug up the plot hole and this and that. And it started from there. And then I guess Doug and I just bounced ideas off each other for, I don't know, a couple months. And then at some point I just started writing like Act 1 and just went from there. And then Doug got the idea of like, well, we'll just film it in the house. The house will take off. And I thought that was actually a brilliant solution.
With the genre decided, the next step was writing the script. But that shouldn't be that hard. Should it?
We're looking at about like 8-9 months or something like that to write this script.
8 months from the inception of what the script was going to be. Actual writing time on the script, probably 6 months. Which it actually would have been shorter because the first act I cranked out in a month and a half, maybe a month. But we had all the issues with SOPA, which was kind of good for us because it ended up going into the script anyway. I got so angry having to deal with SOPA stuff while writing the script that I just decided I'm going to throw this in the script, just to stick it to them.
There was always this idea of fighting corporate and fighting the people who were against us, essentially, because they think they're losing money with us. And I think there was always that aim to attack that. That was very much Rob's focus. And I don't know if SOPA was always in there at the very beginning, but it was certainly there early on, or the Sucka Act, as he ended up calling it.
The exact day I added the SOPA stuff was when I realized that I was preparing dossiers for congressmen that we had to meet. Just getting really demoralized as, we kind of watched a lot of representatives just kind of like, oh, that's nice, okay, we'll listen, we'll read this, sir, okay, by the end of that trip, I'm just like, wow, nobody paid attention to us. I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to throw it in the movie. And really doing the research for that was great because I basically got to see firsthand doing the research how much BS there is in the numbers that were used to justify SOPA. Because most, if not all of it, was pure BS. So reading this, I just got enraged and just full of anger, and I'm just like, okay, I'm just putting this in here, the lines about, how much is lost to piracy, and, Brad's observation that is like, well, you're claiming it's for all these people, but compared to the executives, these people don't get much to begin with, and his justification was like, yes, well, now we can afford to pay them even less. So yeah, that's pretty much how all of that came about.
Okay, the main conflict is in place, the protagonist is simple enough, that just leaves villains. Malachite was badass, but you guys are pretty clever. How difficult could it be topping Malachite?
Very, that's why we didn't.
I'm just gonna stop talking. If you guys need me, I'll be over here.
I don't think there was ever this idea that the real dramatic tension, the dramatic threat would come from the villain. If anything, it actually just comes from the situation.
All of our villains are incredibly, incredibly stupid. The Executor's a threat, but he's still kind of goofy.
Listen, you all want anything? Maybe some hot dogs or some more popcorn or... Oh, crap. I forgot my wallet.
Turl's not a threat.
Right. What else could go wrong?
Sadly, I think the most threatening villain we have is Mecha Kara, by virtue of the fact that he doesn't talk much.
Death is only a shadow of what awaits you.
We stepped it up in the sense that what the villains could do was legitimately threatening, in the sense that trying to take control of the plot hole, trying to shut the internet down, trying to shut the critics down. That was a threat to their livelihood, unlike Malachite, who is some guy that wants to kill you.
Since we're on the topic, here's an interesting side note about Mecha Kara.
The reason I'm contributing to this is because I actually heard a lot of the initial ideas for the third year, and some of those got transported into To Boldly Flee. Back at a convention in 2011 called, I believe, was it 2011? Either 2010 or 2011, I can't remember. In a convention called DaishoCon, Doug and I were both there, and I asked him, "Do you have any? What's the plan for the third year?" He had this idea that Mecha Kara would join the group on this mystical quest, and of course he'd have to play. And he thought there was a lot of humor potential in Mecha Kara acting, completely serious and pissed off that he has to do all this fantasy crap in order to get this object of power that we were looking for. It didn't feel right to me. I said, I don't think this is going to work. I don't think that would have stopped Doug anyway, but I think he decided that for Suburban Nights it made more sense just to have my character be constantly singing the King Arthur thing, especially since Camelot is my favorite movie. But then at the very end, as we were getting the script and everything, I went to him and said, I've been thinking about this more, and maybe there is a good idea in this whole Mecha Kara along with the crew thing.
Well, it's always difficult writing for other producers, particularly in this case, because they already have established characters. It's like writing a comic book movie. When you have a comic book movie or a movie based on a book, your characters in some cases are already set.
It was a lot of story, and it was good story. But there was not much character. I think some of the producers only got like a line. That's sort of point where I sort of go in and say, okay, then Mickey needs a few lines here, or I don't know, Allison needs a few lines here.
There's some that they just do reviews and they do them very well, but there's no character. They haven't invented a super persona around them, so you're kind of left. You're handed 30 people and say, put these people in the script, and then give them all characters. Well, some it's going to be easy and some it's not. Sometimes it's like, well, Julian has a very dry sense of humor. I guess we'll make him the doctor, and he'll just always be just kind of dry. We'll make him maybe like House MD.
You're an idiot. And if you die, most of us won't miss you. Now, are you allergic to shellfish?
No.
Penicillin?
No.
Peanuts?
No.
12,000 volts of electricity rushing through your motor cortex.
Very.
That's nice.
And that was sort of my job to go in and sort of make it where, and what are the hooks, so what are the lines where if somebody hears this, like, ooh, that sounds intriguing, I want to see this.
He basically wrote my character as having a pathological need to lord my knowledge over people, and B, desperately wanting to sing. Which is not inaccurate, I suppose.
In some cases, we decided on things early, and I don't even remember how we did it. Film Brain we made practically psychotic, and I don't think he comes off that way in his reviews. Like, he's completely insane when he's around the critic.
Oh, don't feel bad, Rob. Here's Matthew himself about his character.
I know some people had problems with my portrayals in the previous two films because it's not the same character as I play on my main show. I mean, Banbury Beatdown, I'm kind of playing a slightly more exaggerated version of myself in a different direction. They're both sort of my personality, but in different directions. Kick-Ass-Here and Suburban Nights is kind of more my just casual self. I'm kind of a bit bouncy and off the wall sometimes, and the Battery Beatdown sort of persona, if you will, not really a character, but the persona of Battery Beatdown is kind of the exaggeration of me getting angry at the movie, because I do get angry at a movie. I do get annoyed at plot holes and things like that, and I will jeer the movie in my own home, even though no one will be able to listen to me because it's a movie, duh. But I didn't have any problems with that. I actually found it quite refreshing.
Will you calm down? I'm not trying to scare you. I want to inspire you to defeat the dots. Stop yelling, you British sissy boy. Oh, forget it.
If you think of something like Kick-Ass-Here, which is or The Brawl, I mean, it's mostly character jokes. It's not very story-driven. Those are the ones that only I wrote. And then when you get into Suburban Nights, you get a little bit more story in there, and taking a few more risks with, can some of this be taken seriously? Can you actually be invested a little bit? Can you start to care? And I think when we get into this one, where we do have some scenes that, well, of course, corny and still a little comedic, you can take them seriously, too.
What about storylines that got cut? Were you sad to see any of them go?
I had a ton, but again, they shouldn't have been in there. They did not connect to the story at all. But like one of them I remember was I wanted like this Jar Jar Binks-ish character that they come across, and they find him and he, oh, hello, how are you? Oh, I'm so sorry. No, that's something in the throat there. Oh, good lord, could you imagine if I really talked like that? Oh, that'd be insanely annoying. And so they had this alien that actually is the exact opposite of Jar Jar Binks. Like, he was incredibly insightful, incredibly helpful. Before they went into battle, he would recite poetry and everyone would be really moved by it, and he had all these brilliant master plans that could break him into places and stuff, and he was just like the world's most awesome character.
Initially, the whole team goes to Area 51, only we were calling it Area 52. It was so secret that even Area 51 didn't know about it, and that's where Spoonie was being held. And originally the house had already taken off and they were going to break into Area 51. The character of Prick was there. They kill him there.
And somebody was supposed to dance naked in a fan dance, a male, and yeah, I probably don't want to go into too much detail about that.
Benzai doing a fan dance, which got cut. There were a number of really, really great bits, but once we lost Bargo from the plot as a main actor, and it just became, there was no point to do it. It just became a giant detour.
Yeah, but it's probably best we didn't do it.
Then for a while, it was some drama involving a butler and World War II. I don't know what that was about, but we dropped that too. And eventually we have the product you have now.
Shame the butler idea didn't go through, man. That was an awesome
idea. The butler idea was awesome.
Throwing some singing Nazis is great.
We had singing Nazis and doilies. It was all about doilies. Doug didn't like the doily idea. I did. I think Doug's not into it.
As long as there's singing Nazis, I'm good, okay?
We would have had singing Nazis, but you had to stop me at the doilies. Had you given me my doilies, we would have had singing Nazis, Jagoff.
We'll compromise and say singing doilies.
We should totally make the 5-year about singing...
Year 5, singing doilies.
Year 5, singing Nazi doilies.
Love it. I love this man.
Don't touch me.
The costumes are always a big part of these crossover movies, so it's no surprise that a lot of thought was put into them this year.
Well, I didn't want costumes at all, so I guess technically we didn't need costumes. Doug insisted.
We still needed people to imitate characters, or people need to see, our characters sort of imitate other sci-fi characters. That's just part of satire. And we had a lot of arguments back and forth between how we were going to do it, if we should do it, should everybody do it. And again, we sort of had to come to a compromise that I think worked out very well. We were arguing about it, and I just said, well, what do you want me to do? Do you want to have every single character somehow logically fall into this costume role? I started thinking about it. I thought, well, wait, maybe Hope can get electrocuted, and that just sort of makes her like Ed. Maybe Bennett can go in the Dream Machine, and in there he sort of turns into Setsuo. Maybe Mickey needs to distract the Men in Black guys by dressing him like a Men in Black, and they all started to fall together.
The costumes for To Boldly Flee were top-notch, and required the help of some very talented people.
The costumes were a couple of people. Probably the biggest one that did the most work was Featherweight, who I met at Con Bravo in Canada. And I was just noticing some of his stuff, and I said, hey, would you be up for doing a few for our very silly movie? And he said, what are you looking for? I said, well, RoboCop, Judge Dredd, Gort. And he said, yeah. His eyes really perked up. He got really excited.
I had to give him all these measurements. Like there were like 60 of them or something like that. It was like length of this, length of that, length of here, length from here, here, this way around, and you would not believe how much work went into that just from us. And I didn't even have to make the damn thing. I just had to measure the length of my head, the width of my head, from this part of my head from here to here and from here to here. But it looked amazing. And when we finally got it, it was like, oh my god, I must put this on immediately.
You had to make sure it fit.
Oh yeah, well, but it's actually not that comfortable, believe it or not. I know you're surprised. And walking around it was difficult. I could only, move this far, but I looked cool in it, so I didn't care.
Very limited range of vision.
Well, you can can you hold your arm out straight? Is that doable?
He can do the robot.
Okay, that's good.
I can't do both though.
Okay,
Where's the
you
gun?
only need one.
Okay.
For mine, my stuff was almost all made. I think the only thing that wasn't was the Gort suit, which I had to find. If you look very closely, there was a little American flag there that just didn't look right, so I had to duct tape it out, which you do sort of feel like an ass when you're duct taping the American flag out. You can't really tell. It just sort of looks like a pocket or a patch or something like that, so... hopefully. It didn't stand out too much, but we still had the helmet and everybody's eyes are on the helmet anyway. Let me get my battle armor on. Something dreadful. Oh yeah. Getting the costume on wasn't difficult. Keeping it on was difficult, particularly during the action scenes. Really what it is, it's cardboard, really. I mean, it's just a lot of cardboard come together and painted over and glued. And when you keep moving it around, and especially when a lot of it's very heavy on one side, it's gonna break. So what we ended up doing during the action scenes was that we had to bring, we looked for black tape, we couldn't find it, so we had to have duct tape that we then took a Sharpie and painted over black to actually duct tape the center together.
Damn! The law!
One funny thing that I'll say about the Featherweight costume is that I think I gave him the wrong head measurements, which made it so much more funny because that thing is so huge.
It was like rollerball crossed with Darth helmet.
That's always sort of the comparison I make, and during the action scenes, the way it wobbles around, I think it's so funny. It's one of those happy little mistakes that just makes the comedy so much more enjoyable. The Zod costumes, for Lindsay and Kyle as well, were done by Pat Smith, who also designed the Kick-Assia, the M. Bison costume. So I called her back to design those because she did such a good job the first time. Only figures that you bring her back for the second time. Ursa, whose cruelty extended even to the children of Krypton. And Non! He's a mindless apparition whose only means of communication is wanton violence and destruction. He's also a mute, that's very important to know.
The rest of the costumes were not nearly as intricate, but it was still up to the producers to find the pieces.
It actually wasn't very difficult to find parts to my costume, because I'm not really wearing a whole heck of a lot in the fight scene that I'm in.
Do we leave here bloodied, or is my blood on your sword? Ha-ha!
Yeah, it was just pretty much black pants, and then I wetted down my hair, put in a lot of hairspray. And that was it. Just, I mean, you have the black pants, you have the shoes, that's about it.
I actually have kind of like a personal history with a Harkonnen thong. I know the guy who made it, and he had to get it to Spoonie before we began shooting, but it would have been cheaper to send it to Chicago, where it was going to head anyway, instead of mailing it to Arizona and have Spoonie take it with him. So I had to call Doug to get the mailing address for the Harkonnen thong, and God. Yeah, I think Doug kind of put it best when he said that, you have a weird job when part of what you have to do is negotiate where the Harkonnen thong is going to wind up.
I think everyone's collective reaction to that one was don't look at it. It's kind of like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Marion, don't look at it! Don't look at it!
This is a Harkonnen animal.
Don't worry, I'll borrow the costume later.
Yeah, what I did to put together the pieces of my costume, obviously the character I was playing was sort of a Ripley-esque character, but I didn't want to be dressed really obvious through the whole thing. I wanted to have something a little more practical, so I took the jacket that I already had, the leather jacket that I wore in Suburban Nights near the end, and it just happened to kind of fit the Ripley character, so I had that to put over the suspenders. And the pants that I got were some military pants that I ordered online, and that's pretty much how that was put together.
Get away from her, you bitch! It wasn't so much difficult to find the pieces of my costume as much as it was a matter of price. Like, really the most difficult thing, I guess, would be one of two things. The bodysuit, which I really wanted full body including the fingers, which was easy to find but expensive, and especially if I wanted it on time. So I ended up getting a bodysuit that didn't have the silver glove portion, and then getting separate silver gloves, because I wanted it to be as accurate as possible, and I know most other people totally wouldn't care, but I cared really, really hard. It was a matter of just finding who was gonna have all the little intricate pieces I needed. That, and I guess the jacket was a little bit on the difficult side, and as it was, I had to Goodwill that, and then butcher it, and then glue pieces to it.
They always said I could see through women.
At least it's not a box.
Hey, that box is like family!
She didn't mean it. Well, my main costume part was the Yoda ears. I was very lucky to have my best friend be a very, very competent felter. And so what he did was basically, I'm not sure how felting works, just stab felt until it gets solid. And so these were custom made for me by my friend, who's also does my title card art. And so, should I just do the rest of the interview wearing these?
Whoa. Where am I? I knew that I had to be Neo. That was one thing I had to do, and there was a bit of a mad scrabble for that costume because I'd only got the script 2 weeks before I was supposed to film, and so I didn't know what my character was supposed to be, so I was literally with my parents running up and down trying to find a long leather trench coat or something that would look vaguely Neo-ish, and luckily at car boot we just happened to find this quite ragged, but kind of cool-looking Steven Seagal jacket. I actually associate it less with Neo and more with Steven Seagal just trying to hide his massive weight issues.
What was that?
We were simply discussing our plans to exterminate the carbon units aboard the USS Exit Strategy.
So, does this mean you don't want a relationship anymore?
Affirmative.
Oh, thank God.
That was the only thing that actually needed designing, the eyepiece. The rest I found either online or in cheap Conway stores. And it's weird because I wasn't any less clothed than I normally am, I guess, but I still felt really naked, so I really hated that outfit.
Risk assessment analysis indicates the probability of your success to be minimal, ensuring your failure and my victory.
I basically spent a day looking for some extra stuff at JCPenney because I knew in the script Mecha-Kara was going to get pretty damaged and messed up a bit. So I decided, okay, I need a plaid shirt that's different from the one I usually wear, so that can be ripped up and torn apart. And I already had some corduroy jackets, extra ones, just lying around. And I have several of these gray charcoal shirts. You get them at Target. So yeah, I just went to JCPenney, picked up some stuff there, and I already had the black gloves from several attempts. They're just Darth Vader gloves that you get at like Spirit Halloween or whatnot. Which, they cut up a bit, made them look like they were, like there was flesh and robot skeleton underneath it. I liked it.
With Mecha-Kara, it was hard to tell where costume ended and makeup began. But for this documentary, this is where makeup begins.
Favorite makeup's Linkara's. I mean, that just looked great. At the end where you see his arm coming off and everything, I mean, that's wonderful.
I, of course, love the full destroyed Mecha-Kara with the hanging arm and everything. But I like the simplicity of the Terminator style ripped exposed eye flesh, because that's what I had wanted to do originally with Mecha-Kara during my first battle with him way back in like 2010. This was taking the makeup to the next level, and for a bigger project like To Boldly Flee, awesome.
With Lewis's makeup, we had made his eye in advance, and what we did was I had made it out of liquid latex, and what I did was I built a little patch on it, and this is the eyepiece. And pretty much latex, and this, funny enough, is a fishing bobber. And what we did is just take some pieces and we glued some wires on, just random wires, things to add more detail, make it look more lifelike, peel skin back. And I built a pouch to house some wires, and I have an LED light attached with a battery. So this does light up. Unfortunately, one of the wires got pulled out, so I would have to fix it. But it did light up for the entire production, and it was fantastic.
We did one makeup test the night before we started filming, where they applied the makeup first, tested it out, made it look all gory and cool.
Terminator with Alzheimer's.
Are you Sarah Connor?
Who are you? Who am I? Where am I? Hey, Angela today. I feel cold. This isn't lady filming. I remember when all this was a field of skulls.
Why do I see a skit in our future? That was a pleasant surprise, seeing all that makeup go on him. I mean, I sat down to watch him have the makeup applied one night, and that was some really interesting and fascinating work, because I don't think we'd actually worked with prostheses that much before then.
What I did was I had to fit it to his face. I did not have a chance to meet Lewis in person before the start of filming, so I had to, the night before we did the first shooting, I had to fit it to his face to make sure it was going to work properly, and to add extra pieces for stability. So when the next day of shooting came, the first time that we used it, that's when I made the forehead piece to go along with it, and the chin, and they were made from the latex and everything, and pretty much the chin piece I had to redo for a second day. It did not save very well, but the forehead piece definitely saved.
I made sure to get some pictures of it because it just looked awesome, and I just like, wow, I want to keep copies of this just for my own stuff. Usually it'd take about an hour to apply the makeup for Mecha-Kara. I think a little bit longer for the second one because, of course, we had to add more bits on and make everything up dirtier, make it so clearly he's even more damaged than before, and the eye hanging loose on there. I especially love that. That was a nice touch.
With the second level of the makeup, we had a second eyepiece to make it look more like he was more damaged. So I have another fishing bobber that I use, and this eye actually would light up if I took it out and took it apart. But we decided to leave it off for the production and just have it to where you know, he was so damaged that it didn't light up anymore. And then we just busted up his, you know, forehead piece a little bit more and had it one continuous piece to make it look more damaged.
For the final battle damage on the for the movie, this is actually the chest plate that Lewis wore underneath of his shirt, which was all connected by Velcro pieces. You know, got the blood, got the flabby skin, you know, just still hanging off. It's getting a little old now. And we even had like some extra wires that was plugged into here that was coming out, giving more battle damage. But the cool thing about this, since, like I said, we had a short amount of time and very, very, very low budget. Of course, this is liquid latex, the skin is. But if we turn over to the back, we actually see this is actually just foam board and basically paper towel rolls. That's all these are just all cut up and spray painted to make it look all nice and neat. And on film, it looked fantastic. I just could not get enough of it.
To be.
And now, on-set application with Turl.
Well, General Crud, while you were off playing Martha Stewart, I've been busy inserting a traitor into the critics' ranks.
Another good kitty.
Yeah, absolutely. Now the transformation is complete. Stupid humans! Man animals!
Yeah, we didn't have an
You must be out of your skull bone if you think I'm going to be conquered by these pitiful humans.
Are we doing the nose piece?
I don't have a good nose piece for it.
Yeah, the reason is that
The nose clip I had just looks stupid. Stupider than it should.
Of course, Mecha-Car was not the only character needing special makeup effects. Here's Rob to tell us about the Executor.
I wore makeup? I thought it was just my face. No, it's pretty cut and dry. I just need to look like the Emperor from Return of the Jedi, so fortunately Haley did a fantastic job of turning this hideous visage into something beautiful and young and nubile.
Okay, here's Haley to tell us about the Executor.
With the Executor's makeup, originally I had a mask mold that I used to make some pieces, and we tried to use those pieces, but that particular day of shooting, it was pretty late, and it got to the point where it was very, very hot in the room, and we tried to put the pieces on, and I was applying makeup over it, but with that we had a lot of problems. So he was sweating it off really bad, so we had to change our plans. So I wasn't able to use all the face pieces that I wanted to use. We ended up just using the forehead piece, and so it's like some of the makeup I had to keep trying to fix and keep reapplying. So we were just kind of winging it from that point.
Good. This is better than Dancing with the Stars. Shorty.
And now, on-set application with 8-Bit Mickey.
Alright.
God. Ruining my clothes.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Oh, this is a stain-resistant shirt.
Darn you! Scotch guard.
Actually, I wonder if it will be resistant. Let's put the stain resistance to a test. I'm the shirt critic. That's what the skirt calls for, especially around the mouth.
Around the mouth.
I've been making fun of my characters written all day. It's just like Mickey comes in, someone caught him short, he murdered him. It's like, well, it was built-up rage. Someone, it's all these short jokes. Well, no, because Brad is like, well, no, someone caught him short again.
Some of us all over the face then.
I'll have you know, I did not write Brad's line in. That was Doug.
Someone caught him short again.
Dude, I just thought it would be funny because we're always making fun of you if you just get your revenge.
I'm fine with it. I like it.
How bloody do you want the face?
Really bloody if you I wanted to look like I really wanted to look like
Bathe in the blood!
I really wanted like Rambo, like where it just looks like he just ripped somebody apart.
Knock
Just-
yourself out. I'll take a shower after this.
yeah, we've got a shower. You can totally just get clean.
Careful.
Mickey, you're
Blood all
bleeding
over
all over the place.
Soft. Do you...
I didn't mean to!
Wow. I think this is the role you were born to play, actually.
Apparently the psychopath.
Well, it's always the quiet ones. The handprint, I think, is actually the best touch of all. I can just imagine poor Jim Duggan just. Oh! You need to make this your Facebook profile. No, this needs to be your Love Cupid profile.
Oh shit, I forgot my...
Get some OK Cupid pictures.
I forgot my camera upstairs.
I like long walks on the beach, eviscerating and disemboweling people with my
I like the
teeth.
feeling of the warm blood.
I totally need to tag you on my Facebook, but that's later.
Everyone look at the camera and say Facebook! Facebook!
That's actually pretty
on my
good.
back.
Yeah. Somehow you whipped him around you. Gets him on his back. Actually, no, I wonder if we could write "Help Me" in blood on the back. Do you think it's possible?
Like, get some claw marks going on the back.
Do you think it's possible? Could you actually write that? He sure did.
Wait, just to make the point, I put a little exclamation on there.
Nice. Can we get the H a little?
Yeah,
The H looks a little like an N.
Hold on, I was gonna say get one of my hands. I'll get like.
I just love the concept. What would a prick have been able to even write that in blood? And how? That's just.
It's like this is the most pointless makeup job in the entire series. Here, let's get some.
All right, what'd you guys think?
Oh, the help me on the back is the best.
That was a last-minute addition.
Go here, put that back on.
It's
Sorry,
Mickey.
guys.
We're gonna have a camera over here. We're gonna have Paul instead of Justin.
Good work.
Mickey, good one, man.
Of course, the lessons from last year were fresh on everyone's minds.
Last year we had a huge problem with props and costumes being left at the hotel and people having to drive back to get them. Well, last year gas prices sucked. This year gas prices blow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass out note cards and you guys are going to write down everything you need to bring, costume or prop wise, that is essential to the shoot. And at 6:30 tomorrow, when we all meet in the lobby, I'm gonna come up to you and I was like, gonna be like, "Where's your note card?" And you're gonna show it to me, and you're gonna have it like checked off, and I'm gonna say, "So everything is right here on your person right now." And if you say yes, then that's cool. If it doesn't end up at the location, then I know you've lied to me. We had things like makeup, which was great. We had 2 cameras from the beginning, which we didn't have in Suburban Nights. That was a last-minute addition halfway through the shoot. So from the beginning, we had 2 cameras, which saved us time. And we had real boom mics, which saved us time. We had better lighting generally. The We Shot First people, Justin, Haley, and Terry made a dolly. Actually, that may be my favorite prop. They made a track so that we could move the camera back and forth. And they named it after me and actually autographed it and gave it to me, which was pretty awesome.
At least for the first half, a little more than half of the shooting schedule, it went a lot smoother than Suburban Nights. But it was also a lot more work because they planned a lot of time. And it wasn't just like one guy with a handheld camera. We had an actual like crew and a set and a team and a direction. And, setting up shots, setting up lighting and all like that, setting up sound, which we did not have in apparently any of the other previous productions. So we they really wanted to step it up for the professionalism. For the first 4 days, it worked pretty much like that. Somewhere around day 5, it started to break down a little.
There was definitely more preparation in it. We had a script supervisor making sure the continuity added up. We had runners, and people making sure the production moves smoothly.
So Rob, how's it going today?
It's like you're getting ready to go to a geeky sci-fi.
It's going. It's going.
It's going.
Hey, you guys could have made an actual.
We're actually probably 15 minutes ahead of schedule.
You can do that too,
I'm not telling Doug.
In
fact, I'm probably going to be convincing Doug we're actually 15 minutes behind.
Julian originally
That's
was dressed
probably for the best.
Mm-hmm.
So Doug, how's it going today?
It's going okay. So far, everything's been going good.
We're 15 minutes behind schedule, so hurry up.
So we had a lot more on this one. The problem is it's still a 3-hour movie shot in 6 days. And that's not going to move smoothly. I thought it would. I thought it would move more smoothly, but it's just the time. It's just, if you want it to look more professional, which we did, and we want all the stuff on there, it's still going to eat up time.
We had huge time management issues. Way too many nights that, kind of went over time. And everybody was a trooper, and thank you, and I'm sorry.
Really what happened this time was there was just so much more to do than what was in Suburban Nights. And Suburban Nights was sort of limited by being outdoors, and so we basically had the daylight to do everything. If we didn't get it done afterwards, then we had to do it the next day. Sort of having more time was... it was good, and it was also our downfall.
And to be fair, nothing ever got cut. And we did shoot all the scenes by me. We're talking like getting up at, 6 o'clock in the morning and going to, on some nights it was like till 2 a.m., So, I mean, it still became this very hectic, very tough schedule for so many people. To make a long story short, the production in many ways was better. In many ways, it was tougher. And that's one of the reasons I'm backing out of doing these big ones again, because it's hard watching the people go through that, and just God bless them, they work so hard. So it's definitely, one of the more memorable productions. It's definitely the production I'm the most proud of these people to work on.
There were a number of new faces in this year's crossover movie, both in front and behind the camera.
I've been with the site a little over a year before they invited me to the 4th year anniversary. Picked up from the forums after 8 months of working there. And I was very, very honored. I mean, to have been invited after working there for so short of time. I mean, there are other people who went to the anniversary who've been working with Channel Awesome a lot longer than I have. Yes, Otaku, CR, Panda, all of whom I really, really respect. I'm shocked that it took them that long to get into an anniversary video.
I've been with that guy with the glasses for almost 3 years. I don't know. Here's the thing, I can't count, but I joined the site about 2 months before Kickassia, I think. So about Marchish of the year of the second year of the site. So a while. I've been with Tigmatig for a while, but so I finally got to participate in one of these anniversaries. Fun stuff.
It was a long time ago. It was when, well, she was still cool and funny, so maybe a decade or something. Not sure.
It was 3 years ago, you dick. God damn it.
Wait, we're doing crossovers into DVD extras now?
Yeah, but at the same time, they didn't write us a scene together in the movie, so where else are we gonna do it?
I was eager to work with all the different people from, various corners of that guy with the glasses, particularly. I'd worked with Matthew before, but just generally speaking, like people that you don't have much contact with because they live really far away, Julian, Matthew, and, even other people. Who was, I'd never met Brad before this. I'd met several of the other producers, but I'd never, met Brad and hung out with him and talked with him, and he was awesome, and everybody was really cool. So half the fun was not just in the filming, but just getting to kind of hang out and really get to know all these people that I'd worked with and enjoyed their work for the past several years. So yeah.
My doctor pronounced me dead before I took the plane. So...
And now what you've all been waiting for. To boldly flee on set. Built sets were something new this year, and everybody had their favorite.
By God, with a ship in my command and a crew to dispose of?
Don't you mean at your disposal?
Sure, nothing can stop us!
My favorite set to film on was the bridge set, because as I said, I'm a big Star Trek fan, so it's always cool to see what Jim constructed that was very original series style, with the weird rotating colory lights behind like a slightly transparent filter, the knobs and switches and everything like that.
One of the interesting things is that I originally did imagine a chair on the bridge. I just sort of thought the critic would be standing. I thought chair would get in the way, say for like the fight sequence. So I was kind of against it, but he already sort of started putting it together, so I said, okay, well let's see what it looks like. Worst comes to worst, we'll take it out. And it added so much. I mean, it's like, it wasn't even a bridge until that went in there. It made such a huge difference.
I love that chair. I was sad that the buttons kept falling off and that a lot of the buttons couldn't be pressed, but it was just awesome. I love the captain's chair.
Like, the main deck was pretty... It was fun to do because there was a lot of space to move around and it was a fun set to just kind of look around in.
I'd probably say the bridge. I mean, I was right in front of the captain's chair, and it was very interesting to be right there and being able to hear all the action going on behind you. And I liked it because being the navigator and having the wheel, being able to have the motion and being able to be physical onto the set. That was a lot of fun.
Favorite set had to be the spaceship, the bridge. I didn't get a film on that very much because I was in engineering a lot, but I really liked how that was set up. It was kind of goofy, kind of rinky-dink, and much like the Star Trek shows before it.
There's a lot less montage combat, and by montage combat I mean stuff where it's just we need like 3 or 4 guys in this sequence running or fighting each other or anything like that, and then we just keep cutting around, even though from continuity standpoint it doesn't make any sense.
Whenever we were under attack, Doug would shake the camera.
And shake that camera more for dramatic effect! A lot of it was lean left, lean right. That was a lot of the action.
Honestly, I don't think we had a lot of choreography, all things considered.
That was a little bit more planned out, but again, just for time, we had to sort of simplify it.
We showed up, and they said, "Here's what you're gonna do," and then we did it. And then like, okay, this is me, and this is Lindsay, and then like this is Doug here. And Doug's like, "Oh, you got Lindsay, punch her in the face." And then Lindsay's like, "Okay, I would do it." And then I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna punch her back." And then we did it.
Allison and I were having to fake fight without hurting each other, and we didn't have anyone there to tell us how to do it convincingly or safely. So it was hard to make it look right, because it's like I'm doing this thing, like, what am I doing? What am I doing?
No, you're just like... No, you're like slowly squeezing the neck, pretty much.
Okay. Like I'm saying, chill.
Whatever. Okay, guys.
The one time that I recall myself actually breaking character and starting to laugh was Juwario doing the Sulu thing where from The Naked Time, where he's shirtless and he makes this goofy expression.
Ha ha! Ha ha! You either leave here bloodied or with my blood on your sword! Ha ha! Ha ha! Ha ha! Oh! Ha! Dodge! Parry! Turn! Ha! Spin! Ha! Thrust! Ha ha! Ha ha!
Oh, God.
Man breast!
That's your fencing name?
Did you
Out of my fight with the car prepared me to
I couldn't hold it. It was just glorious, and I had to stop looking at him as we were filming that scene. Because every time I looked at him, I just broke out laughing.
Naturally, some sets were more grueling than others.
Here's a brilliant idea. Build a set in an attic, fully carpeted, you know, so there's not like you can even have a nice cold hardwood floor, but build it in an attic, have it filmed. And I gotta say this, we couldn't predict the weather. It was a really hot spring, but some of these days we're topping out at 88 degrees, and we're in an attic. Now put a green screen in front of the air conditioner. Now, even better, because we can't have noise, don't even bother turning on the air conditioner because it would blow out the green screen and there's no noise. And then film with all of these giant film lights on. Yeah, it was topping out at 110 degrees up there. And you can tell because I think later in the film there's clearly a scene where the robe is off and the latex is melted off my face. It's just peeling and it just looks like somebody slapped like a sticker on my face. It's like... that one was hell for all of us.
I mean, it was ungodly hot, and as bad as it was for me and the other people filming, poor Brad.
Poor Brad is in the Darth Vader helmet in his full-on black suit.
He was still smiling, still, you know, hey, yeah, all the way, and I'm just like, oh my god, he's a trooper, man. He's a fucking trooper.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it is out of the ordinary for me to wear a black suit.
You were burned.
After you threw coffee in my face.
To get rid of that mosquito.
Which I didn't see.
But I did.
And couldn't find.
Because he drowned in coffee.
And then Luke Mockry is in a white bath spa robe. I think he just stole it from the hotel. I don't know where he got that robe from, but... So we're all sitting in there just, you know... completely cooking for 7 hours, and then, you know, it's like, okay, now we're gonna shoot a lightsaber fight for the next 3 hours. Yeah, that was the worst set to film on.
You know, really thankful to have people that can really stick it out and really and still be smiling by the end of the day. I mean, those are hard people to come around.
But hey, it aged me about 5 years.
Another new feat of this year's crossover was the inclusion of a musical number.
Do you even know the #1 Kryptonian hit from 1983?
Well, thanks to Mecha-Kara, I do now.
You should get that looked at.
I've always wanted to do something where there's an action scene, but there's a song going on as well, because you don't see that too often. And maybe because it's a little corny, but I think because we're a comedy, we can sort of get away with it. I was telling my brother about it. I said I just had this idea where Lindsay dressed up as Ursa and me dressed up as Zod would be singing this song to distract everybody. I remember him just going, oh, you mean something like, I need a distraction, I'm a distraction, or something. And it just came from there, just that, him imitating that song. So I'm like, that's not too bad. Yes, I think I will do that.
No, it's clearly holding out for a hero by Bonnie Tyler. It's like, dude, from the Footloose soundtrack.
I need a hero.
Distraction.
I need a hero to the edge of the night. So I guess I tried to sing it like Bonnie Tyler. There's a fire going on, but the party's just begun, so keep your focus looking at me tonight. Yeah, I feel like one of the main inspirations for that song must have been the setup for Kyle.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
just as like that's like become one of Doug's favorite jokes is that Kyle really likes to sing, but we won't let him.
Oh no, we have no choice. We have to sing.
I'm singing, you're not. It'll give us away.
They need to hear my musical pipes.
I'm gonna break your musical pipes if you don't keep quiet.
All throughout high school, I was in and out of choirs. Honor choir 4 years in a row. In college, I minored in vocal performance. let's see, Maryland Chorus first year, then Maryland Chorale, then men's chorus for several years after that. I sang the St. Matthew Passion, Bach's St. Matthew Passion at the Kennedy Center in the tenor section.
He does like to sing.
He's a singer.
The dance number. Especially with doing multiple takes of that, it was shockingly draining. Not just to my body, but to my pride. I knew Doug expected me to do some kind of goofy dance in the background of that scene. The actual dance that I did was, it was a reference to a bit of Fry and Laurie. There's a particular sketch on a bit of Fry and Laurie where Stephen Fry starts doing a dance much like I did, and he calls it dancercising. His own particular way of keeping fit. And so he does the whole sketch dancercising, just like that, doing that horrible non-dance that he does. And so I studied that thing and I tried to incorporate that into what I was doing, and so that's why I look so shitty. Because I was trying to be more like Stephen Fry.
You should make that one
We're a distraction. We're a distraction. Destroy that fantastic tenor.
Time to go.
And now, a quick distraction. How many movies do you think you guys parodied this year?
Oh my god. Oh Jesus.
Oh god, where to start? Star Trek, Star Wars, Men in Black.
Just the costumes alone, what we got? RoboCop, Cowboy Bebop, Star Wars, Star Trek. I think we got every Star Trek movie in there, at least of the original cast.
I was very proud that even though we lost the fan dance, Linkara came up with this justification that the ending is close enough to Star Trek V, where everybody's sharing drinks, that technically we did all of the Star Trek films. That's six Trek movies.
Keep going.
Aliens, Men in Black. The hell else?
I think there's a Spaceball reference, Star Wars, Flight of the Navigator. I think the whole concept of the house and building the house is very Explorers.
Terminator, obviously. A lot of Star Trek. There's a lot of Star Trek in this. RoboCop, Cowboy Bebop, Akira, The Matrix.
The Matrix. The Matrix bit is sort of like Inception. Some of it, I think, with the concept of the doors originally was more like Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, Dune, and then I'll send you Fade.
Get it here, Gilly.
Lovely
Fade.
Need a better view. Ghostbusters, that's a major one. Did we do Battlefield Earth?
Dark City's in there.
I actually didn't realize that my whole bit with Blue Mockery, where I'm doing that whole magician thing against the green screen, I had no idea that was a Dark City reference.
Well, we referenced Doctor Who, obviously.
Akira.
The Star Wars prequels we got in there.
Oh, Superman. I'm still listing off Battlefield Earth.
I can't name them all. Are you crazy?
I'm not done listing the films.
God damn it.
You will not silence me.
I mean, at least, like, could be anywhere around, like, between 30 and 50. I mean, we just have a ton.
Not enough. There wasn't even a Caligula reference in the movie. Is it that hard for me to ask to stick a flower up someone's ass?
What? Of course, filming was only part of the process. Once everybody went home, it was time to begin visual effects.
Wario, you're the navigator, do something! Well, if there's anything that Nintendo's taught me, it's do a barrel roll!
There were a variety of different effects in the film. There were the 3D effects, and there was a lot of 2D effects. Many of the 2D effects could take anywhere from 15 minutes to set up and to render out to a couple of hours, depending on the complexity of the shot. I believe its magic scene actually took me something like 3 days to do, start to finish, because there's a lot of layering in there. With the 3D effects, my team, we had a modeler who modeled and textured, each ship individually. And then we would pass that off, these assets off to other members of the team that would animate each scene, and we would do that on a shot-by-shot basis. Some were very simple, move ship from here to here, and those could render out in as fast as a half an hour. There were some more complicated shots, like the death bomb exploding, which took a long time to rig and a long time to get the lighting just right and the explosions just right. And it had a render time of something ridiculous like 20 hours.
Well, whatever it is, wasn't mine.
My team, the 3D team in particular, comprised of myself, who artistically directed the shots and the feel and the design of a lot of the ships. I passed that off to our modeler. His name is David Wendell. And our two 3D animators that I worked with closely was Alyssa Rabi and Tony Catayisto. Another 3D artist that I worked with not as closely was Marobot. So I was in communication with him, but he was not officially a part of my team. He did a lot of interior and setup there, but he did an amazing job. I'm very impressed with his work.
Marobot did a beautiful redesign of the ship, gave it a more big budget look, so now it can actually fight. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Comichron 1 finally fighting.
Game's a footloose, eh? Fire!
Any shot that the camera did not stand still and I had to motion track an element in the room that stayed there from like the beginning of the shot to the end of the shot was particularly difficult because of the blurring, the motion blur of the camera, and sometimes you'd lose it and you'd have to go a couple of frames and click back on where the motion tracker was. And that was just to keep things framed within the film. Does it pop out a little bit? Maybe, but those were the most time-consuming.
I will not fight you, cinema snob.
Really? Because my bruised kidney disagrees with that.
Coming up with the designs for the 3D models, I'm going to give the correct answer now, and then I will give the real answer later. Coming up with the 3D models was really interesting. I had conversations with Rob and Doug. We would sit and collaborate when they had an artistic vision. They gave it to me, and I remember going through the storyboards and thinking to myself, okay, this is the kind of feel that they want to go for. And I sat down with a piece of paper and just sketched out some designs of the houses and said, this is where we're going with a lot of the nuance. Doug had a lot of initial input with the way he wanted the McMansion to look. He wanted the two ridiculous, thrusters on the back. But in terms of some of the detail and some of the character of those ships came later. The McMansion, for example, is a ship that was supposed to be a surrogate for the Reliant in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. And just as a floating house, it's humorous, but it's not as ominous, and it doesn't give you that soulful recreation of that's where they're going with these shots. And adding the two ridiculous cannons that come out the bottom, which was actually a design idea that came from this, was that they were going to replace the nacelles from the Reliant, and you had a visual nod to the source material in that respect. Now, because they come out from the bottom of the house and flip out, was both because of the necessity of the film. You needed to say, this is not very threatening to, oh my god! And I thought that would be a really funny way to do that. And then also just to have a very keen visual representation. And then a lot of the other designs in the film are nods to other science fiction genres.
Q3 set a new course. We're following the prisoner. Oh, you're just bitter because I wouldn't buy you that iPad you were flirting with. Because she was a whore.
In the designs for the Last Anger Geeks ship, you clearly have an X-Wing fighter, but you also have the fighters from Babylon 5 as well. It's hodgepodges and marrying ideas together and kind of making it look like it's all slapdash together, but it also works. Was the kind of feeling that this film was going for from the beginning, and that you really needed a way to represent all of these different things. And there's so much science fiction that we missed, and there was no way to get it all in there, but as many nods as we possibly could throw into the film, we would. and that's where a lot of the design ideas came from.
What kind of movie would you like to see Channel Awesome do next?
I would love for us to do horror next.
Horror! You gotta do horror! Horror comedy, that's my thing, come on! Do it!
Musical.
I think it's time that we did a musical. Yeah, I mean, I'm with the fans. Do a musical. I don't care like half the people on the site can't sing. That didn't stop a number of musicals from being made.
Everybody wanted a musical, and I was one of those people that was like, it would be fucking impossible and really crazy, but man, it would be fun. Man, it would be fun to do a musical. So I can't help but say, like, I still wish there would be an opportunity to do even a short musical. That would be fun.
As long as it's not a musical, because I cannot sing. I mean, listen to this voice. Listen to this voice. Does it look like I'll be able to sing? Just, no one wants to hear that. No one ever wants to hear that. And that is why there are several restraining orders ordering me never to sing again.
I'm not against the musical idea. I think it's a great idea. I just think it's really hard to do. And again, we're satirists, so we're inherently lazy. So we don't want to do it. So stop asking. Apart from that, murder mystery. That would be a lot of fun to do. But again, you have to come up with a plot, you have to know the murder, you have to write it in reverse because you have to drop clues. And that takes time. And effort. So again, stop asking.
Well, a lot of people have suggested this over the years, and I'll throw my hat in there, that we should do the murder mystery. It could be anywhere from Hitchcockian to like a Clue spoof, but it might be fun to have like a small core group of producers trying to solve the mystery and then everyone else playing the murderer suspects. Although someone online suggested that I should be the one killed. I'm not sure if that was meant as a compliment or not. Alternatively, if we ever had a really big budget, the one I'd like to do is like a spoof of It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World or Rat Race, put a bunch of teams together chasing after a treasure. With all our different personalities, I think that could be a lot of fun.
Oh, gosh. You should do a Caddyshack spoof. Like, all of the National Lampoons, like, film nods of, like, the 70s and 80s Caddyshack-centric spoof. That's kind of hard to spoof a spoof, but I think you guys could all do that.
Dogma 95. This company would do brilliant at a Dogma 95 movie. It's perfect for guerrilla filmmakers. I mean, it imposes a lot of limitations on you, but still, it's a great framework from which to build on, especially if you don't have much to build on. Sure, I could learn Danish.
Teen drama has to be done. If we don't do it one of these next couple of years, in some scale, well then I guess we just don't do it.
Team that got the glasses goes to hell. And I like the idea of figuring out what everybody's idea of hell would be. And maybe at one point they escape into heaven, or they have to fight the devil. Maybe the devil could be Ask That Guy. That was an idea. Or make a whole new devil, or a funny idea. I just really liked that idea. But I had no story at all. It was just some funny character jokes and nothing else. So, yeah, you probably won't see that. But that was one idea I had.
Okay, that was a bit morbid. Brad, you got anything for us?
Porn. Really, I just want to have sex with Bigfoot.
Why do I keep cutting to you? Let's just wrap this up.
Thoughts. I don't know if you want this for behind the scenes thing, but I thought I would just add, that it was a great production to be a part of. It was a lot of fun to be part of this and Suburban Nights. I hope that future projects are in the works and that, all of us get to work together again. I love being a part of this site, a part of these productions, and it truly is really the highlight of this year and last year. Getting to spend time with such great people and do what I love doing most, and that's entertaining people and creating things. And so I hope that whoever's watching this, you enjoyed To Boldly Flee, you enjoy the work that everyone does, and just it was a great experience.
This has just been really great, and I'm glad I got to work with so many great people, and I just hope that they keep on doing what makes them happy, and because what they do to make themselves happy make lots of other people happy.
Final thoughts. You know what? Thank you for the best summer off that I have had since I was a kid. The transition between full-time stiff to Nation medical student, and having this interim of, what am I going to do with myself? Having the opportunity to work on the visual effects for this film was not only a sanity provider as well as a reducer. It really allowed me to engage in this project in a very personal and a very different way than I actually thought possible, and it has brought me immense frustration and immense joy, and honest to God, granted these effects are not Hollywood quality, I really hope you enjoy them.
I was worried that I'd kind of, again, let down Doug. I always worry about letting down the side, because these anniversary specials are very much a team thing. You need to be working as a team. I mean, Doug and Rob and Holly and Mike and everyone involved, and Ed and the We Shot First crew, everyone involved are all playing their own parts in this thing.
I just wanted to thank everybody that I got to work with. It was fantastic working with all these people to be a part of something big, and I definitely would do it again. And it was so much fun to be able to design the makeup and to be able to do makeup for Lewis, and to be able to help put on makeup for Lindsay and Spoonie, and it was just so much fun being around all those people. It was constantly funny. Everybody was telling jokes and poking fun at each other, and it was just so much fun being there.
Absolutely, I would return for another project. I don't know, like, I guess people should know by now this is the last anniversary to be done like this. But I love acting, and I love being a part of these things and hanging out with everybody. So yeah, sure, I would be happy to be in another project. Absolutely, if there's room for me in my hamminess, sure.
I hope you gave a crap about the characters. That's all I can say is, like, I tried to write in such a way that hopefully you can give a small amount of crap, just that much. If you can give that much crap about the characters, then maybe I've done my job. Hopefully. Dear God, please say yes.
I've learned so much on this production as I do with all the productions, and the thing I always take out of them is that I'm so thankful for these people to be as dedicated as they are, and to put up with the madness that I make them go through, and I'll never not be thankful for that. I'll never not be thankful for what these people go through, and how hard they work. Everybody, in front, behind the scenes, I mean, just everybody. Because this is something I just started off doing for fun, at my parents' home, and now it's like a production, and we have runners, and we have people on lights, and we have people on audio, and it's so surreal, and it's very stressful, but it's also so endearing to know that people still come, still help you out, still perform, and still give you this really awesome end product. So I cannot be more thankful to have people who get the joke.
Fly up into space, leave everything we own. No regrets should be allowed. This is your last trip, and I'll be part of it. 'Cause in the end, all you want